Russia has reached out to Turkey for support in ensuring the safe withdrawal of its troops from Syria following the downfall of Bashar al-Assad's regime. Russian forces plan to leave Syria, retaining only two strategic locations, the naval base in Tartus and the Khmeimim airbase. Troops are expected to be transported to areas controlled by Turkish forces and flown back to Russia from there. According to the CNN Turk channel, Russia has already submitted a request to Ankara to help organize the safe exit of its military. Obviously, the Russians will withdraw their manpower from the battlefield, with the exception of the Tartus naval base and the Khmeimim air base, the TV channel reports. It appears that Russian military personnel will be sent to a region controlled by Turkish forces and then flown to Russia by air. The influence of Iran's puppet forces in Syria has also long since diminished, CNN Turk notes. Recall, the armed opposition has captured the capital, Damascus, leading President Bashar al-Assad to flee the country. The Assad dynasty had governed Syria since 1971, maintaining power through repression and terror. During the civil war, Russia and Iran were key allies of the Syrian regime. By contrast, the Turkish foreign minister, Hakan Fidan, also a former head of Turkish intelligence, surrounded by a vast entourage, said little in public, sensing his country may be the biggest external beneficiary of Assad's fall. Turkey has at its disposal the umbrella group of Syrian militias called the Syrian National Army and a relationship of sorts with HTS. But with power comes responsibility. More than any other country in the region, it has the power to help Syrians form the independent consensus government their long struggle for liberation deserves. The Kremlin said on Monday that Russia has granted political asylum to its longtime ally Syrian leader Bashar Assad. Russian President Vladimir Putin personally made the decision to offer asylum to Assad, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters. Such decisions certainly can't be made without the head of state, Peskov said in a conference call with reporters. It was his decision. Peskov wouldn't comment on Assad's specific whereabouts. He said that Putin wasn't planning to meet with Assad. The Kremlin spokesman said that Moscow has been doing everything needed to ensure security of its military bases in Syria. Asked about the future of the bases, he said it's too early to discuss, adding it will be a subject for talks with the new authorities. For now, we are witnessing a period of transformation and extreme instability, so it will obviously take time and require a serious conversation with those who will have power, he said. The developments have surprised the world, and we weren't an exclusion, Peskov said when asked whether the Kremlin was surprised by Assad's quick demise.
После свержения власти Башара Асада вооруженной оппозиции сейчас главная задача укрепления безопасности страны. Об этом сегодня заявил сирийский премьер. При этом судьба армии будет зависеть от нового командования. Причем не исключено лояльное отношение к вооруженным силам, которые, несмотря на многократное превосходство в силах и средствах, без боев зачастую оставляли ключевые позиции, включая Алеппо. Сам же Башар Асад сейчас находится в Москве. О том, что Россия предоставила ему гуманитарное убежище, подтвердил и постпред России при международных организациях в Вене Михаил Ульянов.
В официальном графике президента такой встречи нет. По месту нахождения господина Асада сейчас вам нечего сказать. Собственно, разумеется, подобные решения без главы государства приниматься не могут. Это его решение. Разумеется, это очень важный вопрос. И, разумеется, сейчас делается все, что необходимо, и все, что возможно, с тем, чтобы выйти на контакт с теми, кто может заниматься обеспечением безопасности. Ну и, конечно же, наши военные тоже принимают все необходимые меры предосторожности. Ну, пока преждевременно об этом говорить. В любом случае, это все предмет для обсуждения с теми, кто будут у власти в Сирии. Сейчас мы видим, что в такой период трансформации, чрезвычайной нестабильности, поэтому, конечно, потребуется время, и потом потребуется серьезный разговор с теми, кто будет облечен властью. Ну, произошедшее в целом, наверное, удивило весь мир. Мы в данном случае не исключение.
Iran has begun evacuating its military command and personnel from Syria. This move by one of Damascus' key allies, Tehran, could signal an inability to assist President Bashar al-Assad in maintaining power amid a rebel offensive, reports the New York Times. Regional officials and 3 Iranian officials told the American media that Iranian military personnel and staff members had started to be evacuated from Syria. It is reported that senior commanders from the Quds Force, one of the 5 external branches of the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, have already been evacuated to neighboring Iraq and Lebanon. Iranian officials and regional authorities also revealed to journalists that they had evacuated members of the Revolutionary Guards, some Iranian diplomatic staff, their families, and Iranian civilians. Iranians began to leave Syria, the New York Times reports, citing officials speaking anonymously to discuss a sensitive issue. The evacuation is said to be taking place at the Iranian embassy in Damascus and at IRGC bases. Some individuals being evacuated are being transferred by air to Tehran, while others are leaving by land to Lebanon, Iraq, and the Syrian port of Latakia. According to Iranian analyst Mehdi Ramadi, who advises officials on regional strategy, Tehran is starting to evacuate its forces and military personnel because we cannot fight as an advisory and support force if Syria's army itself does not want to fight. The bottom line is that Iran has realized that it cannot manage the situation in Syria right now with any military operation, and this option is off the table, Ramadi added in a conversation with the media. The American press notes that the evacuation orders marked a significant turning point for Assad, whose government Iran has supported throughout Syria's 13-year civil war, as well as for Tehran, which has used Syria as a key route for supplying weapons to Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. For a long time, Iran, like Russia, another key ally of Assad's regime, has sent advisors and commanders to Syria's bases and front lines. Tehran has also supported various armed groups in the country. Iran deployed tens of thousands of fighters, including Iranians, Afghans, and Pakistani Shias, to protect Assad's government and reclaim territories from the Islamic State, ISIS, during the height of the civil war. Some of the Iranian forces, such as the Afghan Fatimiyan Brigade, have remained in Syria at military bases controlled by Iran. On December 6, this brigade was also deployed to Damascus and Latakia, which are considered strongholds of Assad's forces, according to Iranian officials who spoke to American journalists. Amid a major rebel offensive in Syria, which saw the capture of large cities like Aleppo and Hama in just over a week, as well as territory in 4 provinces, and with rebels advancing on Damascus, 2 senior Iranian Quds Force generals fled to Iraq. The New York Times reports that these generals had previously been deployed to advise the Syrian army and evacuated after rebels captured Homs and Deir al-Zur. Syria is on the verge of collapse, and we are watching calmly, wrote Iranian parliament member Ahmad Naduri on social media. He added that if Damascus falls, Iran will also lose its influence in Iraq and Lebanon. Earlier, Ukraine's defense intelligence reported that Russian forces had withdrawn from the Syrian city of Hama and were fleeing from Damascus. Additionally, the leader of the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, stated that the rebels' main goal remains the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad's regime, as well as building a new Syria.